So it's very frustrating with the Democrats, this sort of lecturing, this condescending tone that they use against you. I don't need to be lectured to about what people need. Black people in Chicago need help.
Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. I finally made Jubilee. I know it's crazy, I've been watching them for years, but I finally was featured on an episode, so we're gonna get into it. We have a lot to cover today, so stay tuned. If you don't know what Jubilee is, it's a pretty big company and they have a lot of different funny little shows, but one of the biggest shows on their platform is called Middle Ground, and it's a debate show. And I was featured on the episode Kamala Harris Supporters versus Trump Supporters. So I'm gonna talk about the process it took to get on, the behind the scenes, the things they cut out, some of my favorite prompts on the show, and things I liked, didn't like, all that fun stuff. So yes, my name is Osiris. I am very much not a Democrat, as you can see. I am a Trump supporter here in Chicago, and to be on Jubilee, you have to subscribe to their newsletter. So like I said earlier, I've been watching them for a very long time, and I actually didn't really apply to be on any episodes because it would be kind of silly topics I really wasn't interested in. No offense, Jubilee, but some of the topics I'm like, okay, this isn't really for me. So I was waiting for the big political topics to really apply to, and the application came, the process opened up, you know, Harris versus Trump, and I said, you know what, let me take a stab at this. So there were a lot of different things they asked for. They asked for like your religious beliefs, obviously your political beliefs. They wanted you to upload 3 pictures. I uploaded 10 pictures. They wanted you to talk about why you think you would be a good fit for this episode and have it be like 250 words. I had like paragraphs and paragraphs I submitted. There was an option to upload a video of yourself talking about politics and your passions and things you want to see happen in the country. I uploaded the video. It wasn't even required. So I went above and beyond in the application process, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And I think that that's something you really have to keep in mind. They're looking for people who are different. There are a lot of people who are black and support Trump. There are a lot of people who are young and, you know, they are right-leaning or Republican. But how do you stand out? And that was kind of my main goal, was being different from the crowd when it came to the application process. Okay, so after the application process, you were selected to be on a phone interview, and the list of people would get smaller and smaller. So first it was the application process, and then it was the phone interview, and then if you made it past the phone interview, it was the final phase of the acceptance process, which was a face-to-face Zoom call. And during this Zoom call, I was speaking to their hiring coordinator, and she basically was very interested in the fact that I lived in a city that has been impacted by the migrant crisis, because she said that a lot of people, they talk about immigration, you know, they have opinions on it, or they talk about migrant crises and the migrant shelters and stuff like that, but not a lot of people actually live it. And I'm living proof. You know, I am also a part of an organization called Chicago Red. I mean, we formed literally because of this crisis. Mayor Brandon Johnson giving $70 million to illegal immigrants literally just a few months ago. What about the poor black folk in Chicago? What about us? So anyway, I could rant all day, but being a part of, you know, an organization that's right-leaning and really doing the groundwork, you know, fighting the good fight, having these opinions about illegal immigration and living right next to a migrant shelter, that definitely was something they were interested in as well. So yeah, I think I stood out more than a lot of people probably applying on the Republican side. So from my hotel, you know, I actually got there a day early because I didn't want to have to put up with, like, you know, going from the airplane to the studio and all of that nonsense. So I said, I'm gonna come a day early and just Uber to the studio so I have more than enough time to get things sorted out. So when I actually got to the studio, you know, like I said, I was the first person who came. So they showed me around. It was really cool. I got to see the green room. I saw the actual Jubilee studio. I had like literal goosebumps walking around and looking at the lights, looking at the cameras, looking at the stools. And I'm like, wow, this is real life. I'm actually here. I know there are people who've done this multiple times, but this is my first time doing it. So it's a big deal. You know, it really is a big deal. So just being there early and just having time to walk around and just take everything in, and just kind of savoring the moment, if you will, was really cool. So they separated the two groups because they did not want us to talk or debate before the show. They wanted all the good, juicy material to be on camera and not off camera. And I think that makes a lot of sense. So we were in two completely different rooms and we were kind of like talking about our strategy. And I was like, okay, I'm really strong with immigration. I'm really strong on Kamala's record. This other guy, he was a veteran. He said, I'm really good with veterans' rights and stuff like that. Sheila was really good when it came to the Jewish people and the situation in the Middle East between Israel and Palestine. And so everyone had like their own things that they, you know, contributed. And I think that was really cool to kind of like debrief and talk a little bit and say, okay, what are our strong points? What are our weak points? How are we going to debate the other side? After that, they escorted us to the filming room. They mic'd everyone up. You know, my heart's beating fast because I'm like, stuff is getting real. We sat in a circle. Everyone said their name twice. Then we went to the very back. Kamala Harris supporters on the left, Trump supporters on the right. And from there, the fun really began. Okay, now I want to talk about some of the people who were there, specifically the people on the other side who were supporting Kamala Harris. Zion and Eric were extremely aggressive. So Eric, the guy with the light blue jacket, Zion, the girl with the little blue-green outfit, they were constantly interrupting people. And it felt like they were very thirsty for like a viral moment, you know? And like, I don't want to talk bad about people who participated in this episode because I really am grateful to have the conversation and middle ground and all of that fun stuff. But I gotta be honest, like the first prompt, like they were interrupting people. Like the second the camera started rolling, they were really jumping on people and making these crazy statements. So the moment where the moderator kind of stood up and was like, we can't have moments where you're yelling. And then Zion's like, I'm not yelling. That happened multiple times. They only included one scene where the moderator had to jump in and tell them, you cannot talk over people. So yeah, that was a little annoying. And I'm pretty sure that watching throughout the video, the things that you can see, it's very apparent which side is a little emotional and which side is keeping their composure. I mean, I don't want to go there, but come on, let's just be real. We were the calm and relaxed folks, and they were a little bit unhinged. So yes, whenever people started talking over each other, they would shut everything down and say, look guys, when you guys are talking at the same time, we cannot include this because the audio gets so messed up. So that happened a lot of time because of the individuals who kept interrupting. So that was something that was really interesting. I really thought it would be kind of like a free-for-all and we can just yell at each other and, you know, people can just go crazy. But it was really nice to have a moderator there. And must I say, John did an amazing job moderating. Like he had to deal with these, all of us really, but really the Kamala people, they were a little bit much at times. So he did a fantastic job really keeping everything in order. So I'm happy that we had a moderator. So it's also really important to note that the prompts were not in order, not at all. I was under the impression that the first prompt that we recorded would be the first thing that they showed. So we would go like in chronological order, beginning with the first and ending with the last, and everything would be exactly as it was recorded. That was not the case. The first prompt that they actually showed was like, no matter what my candidate does, I will support them. That was actually like the 5th or 6th prompt we recorded. And the real first prompt was, did you think Kamala Harris won the debate? That was the very first thing we started with. Did Kamala win the debate? And obviously you guys saw my reaction to that. I stepped forward, even though my teammates stood back. So yeah, it was really interesting to kind of see, watching you like, no, that didn't happen first. No, that happened second. No, they left this out. No, they included this for some reason. So it's really weird seeing the final product when you've been behind the scenes and you've seen everything unfold in real life. But I must say my 2 favorite prompts were, did you agree with Donald Trump's quote, the immigration one? And that's when everyone really got a chance to shine, especially me. I talked about, you know, being from Chicago, the migrant crisis, and this is what made me a Republican, and I really got a chance to go in because immigration is the thing that converted me from a Biden supporter to a Trump supporter. So that was really fun. And also that's the part where Eric was crying like a little baby. Oh, the the term third world is offensive to me, bro. Then of course Zion was like, how does immigration impact you? And I'm like, did you not listen to the story I just told? That was insane. But yeah, it was really fun. Immigration is my #1 issue, so I was waiting for the immigration question. So when they ran Trump's quote and asked if we agreed to it, I literally ran to sit down. So that was my most favorite prompt that we did. The one I liked also after that one, the second one, is there are policies on the other side that I agree with. And I like this prompt because a lot of people actually sat down. And it kind of shows that we can find middle ground. That's the point of the show. It's called Middle Ground. And although we have differences on immigration, the economy, the border, you know, a lot of different things, the fact that we can sit down and find common ground and have those conversations and say, hey, I don't like Kamala Harris or I don't like Donald Trump, but here are some good things that your side has done, or Kamala just came in, so here's a good thing Biden did, and here's a good thing that Trump did. That was a really nice moment when everyone kind of sat down and agreed to disagree, you know, because I'm all about giving credit where credit is due. And I think that moment really personified the entire show. Like, that's the entire point of the show, is to find common ground. Okay guys, the last biggest thing that they cut out was the back and forth between me and Eric. It happened at the very last prompt. At the end of the episode, they tried to pretend like things were all nice and cordial, and we walked away finding middle ground. And although we agreed throughout the episode, and I think we did a good job at finding middle ground, it did not happen at the very last prompt. So basically, Eric was going on this crazy tirade about January 6th. How can we as Trump supporters vote for a man who called for people to overthrow the government? He's an insurrectionist. He is a threat to democracy. Trump cannot be trusted with anything. He was going insane. And I was kind of sitting there, you know, shifting in my seat a little bit, and I was getting very irritated. So I said, you know what? Your side got problems too. And I talked about the Black Lives Matter rioters who killed David Dorn, an innocent black man protecting a business. He shot and killed him. No one talks about that. I talked about Kyler Ellingson, a Trump supporter, an 18-year-old Trump supporter, very young, who was killed by a 40-year-old man, all because he supported Trump. No one talks about that. Or Brett Kavanaugh, he had someone try to kill him. A sitting justice on the Supreme Court had someone try to take his life because the Supreme Court decided that Roe v. Wade had to be overturned and sent back to the states. Someone showed up outside of Brett Kavanaugh's house with weapons. No one talks about that. So basically, I looked Eric in the eye and I said, you can take your fake bootleg moral outrage and shove it where the sun don't shine, because you don't care about political violence in this country. In fact, you're a hypocrite. That was the real ending of the Harris versus Trump episode. That's how things actually ended. But of course, they cut all that good stuff out because it would have given our side a gigantic win. And guys, please listen very closely to the very end of the show. After we shake hands and, you know, people stand up and greet each other and stuff, Eric actually says, I'm gonna take my platitudes and shove it where the sun don't shine. He said it as a joke. I'm actually gonna play that moment right now.
Oh, Lord.
I'm gonna go take my platitudes and stick them where the sun don't shine.
Yeah, and the reason why he said that is because, like I said, we went at it at the very end and I completely obliterated him. He got emotional and tried to make a joke, but I'm like, the show is over. It's too late for all that. So it's just really funny to actually, like I said, be there, see things unfold in real life, sit back and watch the final product of the episode. Like, I was there, I saw everything, how it actually happened, the order in which it happens in. But when you see the final products, you guys will never know about the things that were cut out. So hopefully I did a good job at kind of explaining about that part. Now I gotta give a really big shout out to Mason. You know, he was one of the coolest guys on the Kamala Harris side. He was constantly trying to understand where I was coming from. And as you guys saw, like, we agreed on a lot of stuff. And I genuinely believe that he was actually there to find common ground. He was the calmest, the coolest person there. And yeah, it was really nice having someone like that be on the other side, unlike some of the other folks. But yeah, Mason was really cool. And, you know, as you can see throughout the episode, we were kind of agreeing on a lot of stuff. And when people think about politics, they don't really think of Kamala and Trump supporters agreeing on anything. But with me and Mason, that was definitely not the case. So yeah. Like, there was a part where Eric was screaming and, you know, cutting me off. And it was when we were talking about the Robert E. Lee statue, the very fine people on both sides comment. And they were taking my words out of context. But Mason interjected. He cut off his own teammates and said, wait, I think Osiris actually meant this. I think this is what he's actually trying to say. Or the moment when I was talking about the housing crisis and he was like, you and me both. And we were really finding common ground on that moment as well. So he really seemed like someone who actually cared about conversation and understanding what the other side has to say. He wanted to find common ground. He believed in middle ground from what I saw. And the other people, I really couldn't tell that, you know, so I really wish in future episodes, Jubilee kind of looks for more people like Mason, because he was really cool to talk with and have that conversation with. And I think one of the most striking moments of the entire episode was when John, the moderator, asked an additional question. And this extra question was, can you acknowledge that there are people on your side who are more extreme than you are? And every Trump supporter, we all raised our hands. Only one Kamala supporter raised their hand when the question was asked the second time, because they were pretending like they didn't know what he was talking about. So if you imagine the political spectrum, there is the left, well, my left, you're right, but there is the left, there is the right, and then there is the center. And they were trying to say conservative Democrats are an example of an extreme, but the moderator was saying that's not a fair point, because a conservative Democrat or a Democrat that agrees with Republicans is more so in the center. They're trying to find common ground. He was saying, are there people further left than you that you are not proud of, people who are further left than you that are more extreme? And they basically struggle to acknowledge that. So I think that really kind of exemplified the difference between them and us. We can acknowledge there are crazy people and whack jobs on our side. They really didn't want to acknowledge that those people existed on the left side, because they have this mentality, as the girl said, you know, Kamala's impeccable. They have this kind of moral superiority. All the problems exist on the Republican side, on the right side. So yeah, that's really crazy. And I was really shocked that not all of them had their hands held high. Zakaya, for the most part, was cool and collected, but she had a very weird thing she was saying, something that's so crazy to where us Trump supporters couldn't even contain ourselves. She said that Trump was going to take black people back to slavery. And I love how the camera panned out and you saw all of us standing back. We were like, what is she talking about? And her saying that is actually the exact reason I brought up Kamala's record when it came to using black men as cheap labor in the state of California, because the court said there are people that you have to let out of prison. You're holding them beyond their due date. And Kamala said, well, you know, them being in prison benefits California because they have jobs to do. And those jobs are beneficial for the state of California. So what is that called when you're held against your will and you have to work and do things you don't want to do? That's called slavery, isn't it? The hypocrisy, people, the hypocrisy. So it's really crazy how people don't want to talk about Kamala's record when it comes to that, but then want to say Trump's going to take you back to slavery. Look, Kamala made you a slave, treated you like a slave, and thought you was a slave when she threw black folk in prison. So I'm not trying to hear that either. Alright guys, that is it for this video. It was very fun to go to California and to shoot with Jubilee. It was my first time in California, my first time being on Jubilee. I absolutely would do it again. I wouldn't mind traveling all the way there again. I just gotta save up before I'm able to do that. But it was so much fun to actually have a platform and to debate with people on the other side and try to find common ground, because doing things like this, when you have a small YouTube channel, you feel like a very tiny person, which is why I need y'all to subscribe so my platform can get a lot bigger. But yes, Jubilee was so much fun, and I'm more than honored and privileged to have had the opportunity to be on that platform, because their platform is gigantic. So I hope you guys liked everything I talked about. I hope you have a better understanding of what was cut out, because a lot of stuff was cut out. But that's it for now. Like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, I'll see you next time.